as years went by, I realized that I really wasn't being much good to my sickest patients. They're overweight, they had high blood pressure, diabetes, clogged arteries, inflammation of various tissues. I really didn't know what to tell them. Every time I looked in the medical text for the cause of high blood pressure, the cause of diabetes, I'd run into these two words, etiology unknown. We don't know what causes these, but work with these medicines, and when the smart guys in the lab figure it out, we'll give you the magic pill. And I didn't know what to tell my patients. They were getting more obese and sicker, and I was just hoping they wouldn't have their heart attack when I was on call. And that was a pretty sad state to be practicing medicine in. I left general practice, went into anesthesia, and did almost 2 years of an anesthesia residency, and found myself in the operating rooms on the cardiovascular anesthesia service. And day after day, I'm watching surgeons open people's chest and remove this yellow guck from their arteries, atherosclerosis. And I began to realize that this is largely the fat of the diet these people are eating. And my dad died of clogged arteries, and I knew I was going to be laying on that operating table with that striker saw going up my sternum, and I sure didn't want that. And the studies were already, this is the early 80s, and the studies were already starting to show up in the books that an animal-based diet, meat and dairy and cholesterol are the major culprits, and a whole food plant-based diet can melt away these plaques. Dr. Dean Ornish was starting to get his works in the literature. But Dr. Frey Ellis back in the 70s published a study of this fellow who had bad angina, went on a vegan diet, and he's climbing mountains 6 months later. So I adopted a plant-based diet out of prudence, and magic happened in my body. Within 12 weeks, a 10-kilo spare tire of fat around my waist melted away. My high blood pressure normalized, my high cholesterol normalized, and I felt great waking up in a nice lean body and running 5 miles every morning. And at that point I realized I didn't want to be an anesthesiologist and spend my days putting people to sleep. I'd rather go back to general practice and help them wake up. And so I did. And that was 35 years ago, and ever since I've been practicing a plant-based style of medicine. And it's the most gratifying kind of medicine I could hope to practice. These people get healthy right in front of my eyes. You get them on a whole food plant-based diet, which we'll talk about, but lots of salads and soups and lentil stews, and the obesity melts away, and the high blood pressure goes down, and the arteries open up, and the angina ceases, and the asthmatic lungs clear, and the psoriatic plaques in the skin go away, and the sore joints fade, and they feel healthy again. And that's the best kind of medicine this old doc can practice. So I've been a plant-based doc and a big fan of seeing the wonderful changes that happen because of it.